Hello everybody, welcome back to Gelvin Valley, wonderful app for Farming Simulator 15, made by Wild Wild Wes, and we are in the process of cutting some hay. I was thinking maybe I'd do some of this off camp, but why not just do it on here live. Just beautiful up here with the view that we get of the map, and I know this is kind of a new area that I haven't shown before, I think, in any of these videos. I've been up here before, and actually, you know what, let's check that out right now. I am positive it's set in here at, yeah, fields, hay. Where does it say about hay? Hay bales. Okay, maybe it doesn't say this in here. Maybe it's in the manual that the map author wrote that came with the map, which is pretty helpful, where he said that. But I gotta say, if you do that, you kind of are taking down the trail of not making very much money. I'll never forget the disappointment I had when, because, you know, as you see in here, there's a lot of grass fields. You know, I think the particular area of the world he's trying to represent on here has a lot of grass fields. So, you know, and some of them are all grazed out. You have to plow them under if you're gonna turn them into an arable field, or even to replant them as grass, you'd have to do that. But you're not gonna make that much money selling hay. Let me just let me just tell you that much. But we'll do it here a little bit. We got a little time lull based on how some things happened here with the property that we had to get it all planted, to get it all fertilized and ready for harvest. We have, you know, here we find ourselves, it's about noon. So I'm wondering if we can crank out a few bales and maybe leave them up here. And when we're hauling bales for after harvest, we can stop up here and pick up whatever we've produced and haul it to market also. I don't think I want to just rent a trailer, because we don't have our own flatbed trailer. Rent a trailer just to come pick up a few bales up here. I think the cost of it probably would eat away any of the profits we're going to make from the hay. So just beautiful up here. And you always wonder sometimes on these maps, what exactly is it about them that can just grab you? And I mean, this is one of them that does that. He was a creative genius putting this together, and I don't care if it is an old map. I mean, you tell me if you would like to have this in Farm Sim 22. I mean, I think it would look spectacular in 22. Assuming they can get the same color combinations and everything that they have in here in the 15 version. He also added in 13, I know I've mentioned that before, but just a wonderful map. Obviously very good at it, and this is all we have from him. So far as I'm aware, he didn't make any other maps or mods. So, and he's kind of left the farming sim scene. So this is all we got. But it's a pretty good if you will. You know, the past couple episodes I've been talking about food, and I know several episodes ago I mentioned a trip our family took to Arizona to attend the wedding of my brother-in-law. I wanted to go back to that because there's something I've wanted to talk about in here before, and I'm curious what you all will say about it too, because everybody has had this experience at some point or other in their life, and namely with marriage. You know, either you're married yourself or you've been to someone else's wedding and the reception that followed, and, you know, maybe participated in some of the antics. And there's one specific tradition, if you will, antic annoyance maybe to some people, you know, with the getaway car. I don't know how it is in other nations, but I know here in the U.S., it's pretty common that after the wedding, there'll be what's called a reception where people can come and congratulate the couple. And there's all sorts of things that can go on at a reception, but generally speaking, uh, in polite company, there's cake and punch served, and maybe some candy or whatever, and people go through a greeting line to talk to the couple, and I know there's lots of variations on this depending on culture and where you grew up. Some have a dance later, so forth and so on. But it's a time for people to get together and celebrate the new couple, and I'm pretty sure this is almost universal around the world. Weddings are a big deal, and so people tend to celebrate them, maybe in slightly different ways and different manners, but there are customs all over the world that do this. And so here in the U.S., there's traditions with when the couple leaves finally and they go off to their honeymoon or what have you. They have what's called the getaway car, and usually the car is decorated in some fashion, not by the couple themselves, but by all their so-called friends, that take time to do things appropriate and otherwise to the car to help them celebrate. And a lot of times when the couple is going out to their car, there will be met with people throwing things at them, if you will. Rice, typically, and it's something I never understood as a kid. Throwing it at them, it's like, no, you're supposed to throw it up and then it lands on them. Well, I know as a kid we tended to throw it at them, and it probably felt like a bunch of little bullets hitting them. But hey, they probably did it to people when they were little too, so what can I say? But that's kind of what I wanted to talk about in this episode just a little bit. Just thinking, we weren't there at my brother-in-law's. We weren't there long enough to see him leave. We were at the reception, and then we had some other plans that evening we had to go to. So we left the reception early. There was a full-on meal that they were having for everybody that was there, along with the cake and whatnot that they were handing out. And so I have no idea how that part went for them. And so, because we left before that. But I do remember, I have several memories, and I'm knocking on the door of 50 in my age, so I've been to a lot of weddings and stuff over the years. And like I say, this is universal. I don't care who you are. You have been to someone else's wedding at some point, if you have friends that invite you there, or you've been to your own. And I'd be curious, what were some of the things that happened at the good old wedding reception that stand out to you as having been done? And well, that's kind of a different thing. This thing is swinging like a, what the world? I don't know what's going on here. Let me see, maybe I need to just turn this a certain way. Get situated again. I think that'll send me the right way. Yeah, it must just been a temporary glitch. I actually wrote down a couple things on my paper here. Let me get my spectacles so I can read them. This one here stands out probably as I've never seen anything like it in my life. This is an aunt and uncle of mine, and I don't remember how old I was at the time. I don't think I was even a teenager yet, so not that old, just a kid. And they had this little hatchback car, and someone, they got it all doodadded up with whatever. But some people were just flat out mean as to what they were doing to it. It was hatchback, so one of the things they did is they opened the back hatch and they went into the car from the back, and they took some baling twine and they tied together the front two doors so that when the couple came out, they wouldn't be able to get in their car because they were tied together. They would have to literally go in the back of the car. And like I say, a lot of this, it's kind of mean, and and an annoyance. You know, here you're trying to get out of there, and I guess it just prolongs. Oh goodness, I get this. I got my swinging pendulum. There we go. It's just kind of an annoyance. You're trying to get out of Dodge and go on your honeymoon, and here's some chuckleheads are messing with your car and trying to hinder you from leaving. So that was one thing they did. I mean, they opted, or they considered, but I guess the guy couldn't do it anyhow. They considered trying to come out the sunroof and tie in even the back hatch door, but I mean, that idea was kind of kiboshed. Come on, tractor. Maybe I should be mowing this the other way. Instead of driving over the top of it, I should be kind of heading around this way? Maybe? I don't know. I keep forgetting which direction is going to make this get all bound up. Oh, it's going that way. Oh, blimey. Okay, I want to turn the other way. Turn to the right, young man. So maybe, now can I switch this? Oh, I can. Look at that. Oops. Get rid of courseplay. I have done this with courseplay up here before. So I know it can be done, but I'm just doing it freehand here at the moment. So then, of course, the couple came out, and you had to cut through all this to get in the car. But here's the kicker. Someone mentioned that they had seen a dead skunk on the road, you know, a couple miles back. We have kind of a lot of skunks in our area, so that's no big surprise. So what did these guys do? And they're in their good clothes when they do all this. A bunch of them drive down the road, find where this skunk is, and scrape it off the road with a shovel and bring it back to this couple's car. Again, this was my aunt and uncle. And someone got the fun job of tying a rope, or maybe it was more baling twine, to the skunk, and then they tied the other end of it to their bumper. And they took it and they chucked it under the car. And you couldn't help but smell the silly thing. You know, just stunk to the high heaven. And so, but I don't even think the couple noticed, you know, when they came out. You know, we all were just sitting there, you know, some of us, I was just watching someone else. You know, isn't that how a spectator always says, well, I wasn't involved. I was just watching someone else do it and laughing at them. So when they eventually untie their car, if you will, and let me turn that off, try to recenter it. Maybe I got it. There we go. It's that kind of trailer. I gotta use a right mouse button. I think that's pretty good. So when the couple finally heads off, I mean, it was just hilarious watching behind them. They had no idea that attached to their bumper was this dead skunk, and it went right along with them. And you would never park on a hill like this, but we are going to set our brakes and turn it off. Look at that, parking straight downhill. We better hope we have an excellent set of brakes or this would never work. Oops. Wrong button. We'll get out of our tractor. Climb up this steep hill here just to get to the other one. Not sure making hay up here was one of our better ideas, but oh well. Yeah, already heading downhill. Here we'll go. We'll get this tethered. So we always wondered later, and I think I asked my uncle years later, you know, did the police stop him or something? We were thinking that, you know, if you saw a car where it had a rope to its bumper, and then the other end of the rope had this bit of fur attached to it, would you think that someone had accidentally or otherwise, you know, tied their pet to the bumper and then ran off and drove down the road and just accidentally killed their pet? I mean, that sounds horrible that someone would do such a thing, but we always wondered, when they drove out of the parking lot with this dead skunk tied to their bumper. I mean, you couldn't tell with that thing bouncing on the road behind it just what it was. Someone may have thought it was a cat or a small dog. Who knows? So I was always curious if they got stopped by somebody. Turns out they weren't, I don't believe. But we were thinking that'd be pretty funny if a cop stopped the couple just to inquire about what they had on their bumper. Who knows how long it took for them to figure out that they even had something on their bumper, with a married couple having other things to pay attention to while they're driving off. So that's probably I don't think I've ever seen anything quite that nasty done to a couple in their getaway car. I have heard of enterprising people, I've never seen it, doing things like wiring the car's horn to the brakes, so that every time, the poor groom steps on the brakes to come up to a stop sign, he activates the horn and is constantly blaring it at whoever is at the intersection with him where he stopped. Like I say, I've heard of that being done. I haven't seen it with my own eyes, if you will. And various other things that can be done to a car with some enterprising mechanic. My father told a story one time from way back in the day. He had a friend in high school, I think, and he went to a wedding reception, and he got the bright idea that he was going to put crankcase oil in the tailpipe of this vehicle. And I think he put a cap on the end of the tailpipe so that the oil wouldn't come out. So, of course, if anytime you plug the tailpipe, it can take a little bit to start the car. If it's really plugged good, you may not be able to start it at all. But he must have left just enough opening that they were able to start the car. And my father wasn't there, but he heard about it later, that it just blew the caps off of the tailpipe and took the crankcase oil, this horrible, filthy, greasy stuff, and just blew it over a whole bunch of people standing there, in their good clothes. A lot of times, we're going to weddings and receptions, we're in suit and ties, and, we're in our good clothes. And here, I don't think those people were very happy with my dad's high school friend who had devised doing this, because it harmed the guests. It didn't do anything to the couple. And maybe that's for the best. As some people say, well, it seemed like the thing to do at the time. So, yeah, when I think of any damage I would have done at a wedding reception, I think one of the worst things I ever did personally was accidentally, I think I was in charge of pouring punch or something, refilling cups, and I accidentally poured a whole pitcher of it over some guy's pants. I just slipped or something, and it just ended up in his lap. And so I'm still, to this day, I'm a little chagrined about that. But I never did anything to anybody's car, though. Let me make that clear. At least nothing that did permanent damage like that, or even was anything more than a minor inconvenience. I had the privilege of seeing my grandfather get remarried. His wife passed, I think, sometime back in the 80s, my grandmother, and a year or two later, I don't know when it was, he remarried. And, that's not very often you get to go to your grandfather's marriage. And Grandpa, he was strictly old school, and he laid down the law. He wanted nothing done to his car, and based on how Grandpa was, when he said something, people generally listened. So I think the worst that happened to him in his case was a few blocks of wood were put under the tires to make it a little more difficult to just drive off. But other than that, he really didn't have anything done to him to speak of. So sometimes it depends on who it is. And, I've heard stories before too. And I learned a lesson from this, I guess, when I was younger, is, I heard a story of a fellow who was a prankster, and he did tons of stuff to other people's cars. Well, look at that, we're done. And so he did this and had a reputation for doing it. And then when he got married, I mean, his car was all but destroyed on account of how many people he had messed with over the years. And I just remember saying, it's like, nope, that's not going to be me. I didn't want to do that to other people and then have that kind of reputation and then get my stuff messed with, you know, when it was my big day. Because, I mean, when you're trying to head off with your new bride, the last thing you really want to deal with is a mess. You know, and some of those, you know, that I observed over the years were pretty bad. I could want to get rid of a skunk, for goodness sakes. Alright, we got our hay cut and tedded. Now we'll head back to the farm and we'll get a windrower and the baler. Drag on up there. And this time, I'm going to just send it on the speed, and I'm not even going to check to see if the other guy is following until I get back to the main farm. I want to kind of see if he's able to keep up at least enough so that he doesn't break contact, if you will. I'm using the follow me. Oh yeah, I can see him on the little map. I don't know why I didn't think about that before. There's that little FM on the map. Must be for follow me. So we see how closely that little icon is able to keep up. Sneak on through here. Get on down the road. Let old FM fend for himself. I was the first in my family, and I think I mentioned before, I grew up in a family with 5 boys. I came first, then there was 2 girls, so I was the oldest in my family. My wife, it just so happened, my bride, she was the oldest of 8, and she, I think they were a little bit in a different order, the boys and girls in her family, but I remember literally having a conversation with my brothers, and I just made it real plain with them and said, you know, I would appreciate it if you didn't mess with my car. And I said, you guys do what you gotta do. I said, just know I will remember. And I don't think a single one of my brothers touched my car. So I must have put the fear of something into them. Because not a single one of them messed with it. At least in terms of doing damage. And I mean, sometimes the damage can be really nasty, you know, what people do. I don't know if they intend to damage it, but you know, where they take a lipstick and they write on the car door and then wonder later, well, what happened to the paint? Well, some of those things, I mean, they aren't designed to go on cars, and you know, there's real damage sometimes done, you know, to people's vehicles. Alright, let me see if I can get this backed in here. Let me take this off. Follow me. Maybe I can involve both tractors again if I head up over the hill. Drop that. And maybe this time, yeah, I'll take this. Is this big enough to handle this? We'll see. Get this over here. Now, where did I put the baler? Baler. Oh, there it is. Alright. Switch back to the other one. We'll go get our baler and head on back. Get this done. You know, to make money on hay, you gotta be willing to work for it. That's all I can say. Unable to move closer. Okay, well, maybe I just wasn't pointed the right direction. Now do you see it? Alright, he's got it. Yeah, it's just a little bit longer. Here we go. Maybe this one will outrun the Baylor even. Back on up the hill. We don't even own this area. We are turning it into hay. Over the river and through the woods. To grandmother's house we go. Oh, not exactly. We're heading up the hill. Just a silly song we sing. So in my own wedding, the worst thing that I recall happening, like being done to our car. Oh, fiddle. Can I sneak under? Oh, goodness. Alright, let me turn this off. Oh, details, details, details. Let me try. I can get this one through because he fits under that tree. This guy, maybe I can lower it and make it under. There we go. Now we'll back up again. More than one way to skin a cat. In real life, I wasn't such a cheapskate. I would have had taken care of that tree a long time ago with a chainsaw. But what can I say? Chainsaws cost money. And I ain't got no money right now, so we once again set up the follow me. Back up here. Here we go. We're going to go back up the hill. Anyways, I was saying, the worst thing that happened in my car was chocolates. I think it was my sister-in-law whose bright idea that was. It was a hot day. I mean, my wife and I, we got married at the tail end of June. It was a brilliant sunny day and hot. And even if it wasn't that hot, oh, come on, only 5 miles an hour? Sheesh. This thing must be pretty heavy. Even if it wouldn't have been a hot day, just having chocolates under the glass, she put them kind of in the back of the car, just over where the trunk is, clear in the back, and they melted, and they made this chocolate mess all over my seat coverings and things back there. You know, I thought to have a lecture with my brothers. I never thought I needed to have one with my sister-in-law, my future sister-in-law. And sometimes you wonder, how in the dickens do people get access to the car? And this is where when my wife and I got engaged, I ended up making a key to my car so she could have one. I think she made a key to her car so I could have it also to hers. Well, somehow, I mean, she wasn't paying attention to her keys, and I watched mine like a hawk. You know, so that I knew where they were at all times and someone couldn't just run off with them and make a copy. Well, her sister, I think, literally took her keys, made a copy of my car key, which was going to be our getaway car, and then used it on the day of our wedding reception to do all sorts of stuff inside. Most of it was just fun stuff, you know. I mean, it was a hot day. They turned the heat on as high as it would go so that when I started the car, it would be blowing hot air. It took me a while to figure that out. You know, they blasted some music in there. They put in a little kid tape, you know, that we had as like what was it? Merry Melodies? These cartoons, I think it was like Tweety and Sylvester and Bugs Bunny. It was a tape that we enjoyed as a kid, so they had that playing on high. You know, just that kind of stuff. I think they put this bow on my antenna, so that thing was flapping pretty hard out there. That's one thing we stopped to take care of pretty quickly before we went too far down the road. And it's pretty common, you know, that cars will have toilet paper on them or bells, things they'll drag along the ground just to have good fun. But I didn't appreciate the chocolates. Oh boy, it's going to be painful getting up this hill if we can make it. You know, I'm kind of curious. We're down to, 3 miles an hour. By George, maybe we'll make it here. It was at 2 miles an hour for a little bit. I wonder if it'll drop to 2 once we get to the top of this. Just miserable steep in here. So we'll get this thing up here all windrowed and get some baling done. And I think we'll just leave the bales up here for when we're done with harvest and we're baling all the straw. And we have bales to pick up as it is. We'll then come and get these also. And actually for the harvest bales, I almost think I've been doing those in square bales anymore, not even using a round inner. Yeah, we dropped to 2 again, but we're gonna make it. And there goes the bell from my good friend Eustace Farmer, my late friend, who gave it to me, so I always knew when 30 minutes was up. Let me just go to my tractor here. We're gonna take him off. We're gonna set the brake and turn it off. We are trusting a lot the brakes. I'll head up here to our tractor. What do I gotta do? Crouch to get underneath this? Maybe just flat out go around. And we'll start taking a piece of this and turn it into windrows. Hopefully we can grab it all. And I'll just keep you here with me while I do the first round. Seems like it's letting us do this a little quicker than when we cut it. Maybe we'll wish we'd gone a little bit further over to the left. I wouldn't say this is the best of hills to be making hay on. But when you're poor farmers like we are, we take what we can get. Right now we're making some hay in the high mountain meadows. Let me see, was there any other wedding story that I was going to tell? Yeah, I think that was pretty much it. I'd be really curious if anybody's willing to share your own experiences, shenanigans you've pulled yourself at weddings, getaway cars you've seen, things done. Most of it, like I say, is in pretty good fun. Hopefully not too destructive. I saw a couple things that were pretty destructive, so I'd be interested to know what your stories are, what your culture is. I know some people that look into these things aren't from the U.S. and you have your own practices and things that you do, which is always fascinating to me. So would enjoy it if you shared in the comments. But thank you so much for coming along. Appreciate it, and you all have a wonderful day, whatever you're doing, and I will see you on the next one. Goodbye for now.